Yeah, hi there. I'm travelling on the M4 west. On the opposite side, there's a car on the fast lane travelling. He's travelling in the wrong direction. It's like a grey Vauxhall Astra, I think it is, or something. Oh my God, please move out of the way.
Grey Vauxhall, yeah?
I think so, yeah, I think so. And they're still going, they're not stopping.
Are they going fast?
I'd say I'm doing 50 now, and they're at a good, yeah. Oh, they've crashed. Oh, they've hit a car. Oh. Head on.
Right, yeah, gents. 1-1, we need another vehicle.
How's it looking in there now? Watch your back, guys. Watch your back. Right, guys. Jump on there. Behind you.
Cover.
Okay.
You got a stretcher?
Yeah, grab a longboard, mate.
Longboard, glass sheet.
Let the paramedic do his assessment first, and then we'll go from there.
Witnesses made multiple emergency calls to report the car travelling the wrong way along the motorway. But help couldn't arrive in time to stop this ending in tragedy. Collision investigator Dean Burnett was called to the scene of this crash.
The motorway had been closed on the westbound carriageway. The eastbound carriageway was still open. And I could see that there were two vehicles involved. One was a silver-coloured Vauxhall Astra, and the second vehicle was a black 1 Series BMW Saloon. Unfortunately, one of the parties involved in the collision had died. The person in the second vehicle was seriously injured. And information that I had is that the black BMW was being driven in the correct direction in lane 3.
But this silver Vauxhall Astra was being driven in the wrong direction by a 38-year-old woman who has died. It's over to Dean to find the evidence to reveal exactly how and why this crash happened.
I was looking to identify the specific point of impact. What I was able to find was a series of 4 gouges that led at right angles across the road surface between the two vehicles. The way the damage was caused to the front end of both vehicles indicated that it was a head-on crash.
But as he looked more closely at the silver Astra, he found some evidence that didn't make any sense.
There was an area of damage on the rear corner of the vehicle. The rear driver's side wheel was out of alignment. That damage wasn't consistent with the circumstances of the head-on crash. So you start to think, well, is that damage caused perhaps prior to the crash, which may or may not be significant in the cause of the crash?
Still unclear about why she was on the wrong side of the road, Dean couldn't rule anything out.
The traffic flow was quite busy for a Friday. It was the night before the Wales-England Six Nations rugby match. So by this time, these screens had been erected along the central reservation.
As well as shielding the scene from the view of passing motorists, Dean suspected they could be hiding more.
So I was able to look through the screen. I could see there was evidence on this concrete crash barrier that could have been consistent with the crash.
As the investigation drew to a close, the screens were removed.
What I was able to see is there were a number of very fresh curved marks along the face of the crash barrier. And even what appeared to be silver paint, fragments of glass, tyre mark and scrape marks actually along the top of the crash barrier.
He then realized that the consequences could have been even more devastating.
If it had been any other type of barrier, I had no doubt in my mind that that Astra would have crossed the central reservation and landed up on the opposite carriageway. When you bear in mind how busy it was that evening with traffic travelling in both directions, that doesn't bear thinking about.
Just over 6 hours later, Dean's work at this scene was complete, and the westbound carriageway was finally reopened. And now both cars involved in the crash have been recovered.
We always come back in a cold like today, as we say, and look at the vehicles to check for a number of things, that the car was roadworthy, to see whether there's any contributory factors in the collision.
PC Di Thomas has just examined the silver Astra, which was being driven by the woman who died.
All the tyres, brakes, they're all very good. Steering, whilst it's been damaged, I was able to turn the wheel and you can see an activation in the steering rack.
But while her car was in good condition, it should not have been on the road.
We're looking at just coming up to 3 months this vehicle hasn't had an MOT. And along with that, we also have an issue that the vehicle currently, at the time of the collision, didn't have any insurance on it.
The 21-year-old man who was driving this BMW is now in a stable condition in hospital. But the forces involved in this crash meant he had to be cut free from his car.
Myself and Di was surprised at the level of intrusion on the face of it on this car compared to the Astra. It seemed a lot more. And where Di's hand is there, that's actually as far back as the bodywork has come. So you can imagine your legs being in that position. There's the edge of the seat, the front edge of the seat.
The edge of the seat and his trainer is in there.
There's no room in there at all. He's obviously sustained serious injuries, but on the night he was talking. He knew what happened to him, he knew what happened in the crash. And thankfully he's looking at being released from hospital. You're a lucky boy.
As the injured driver begins his recovery, Dean needs answers about why he was struck by a car travelling in the wrong direction. He's starting with a network of traffic cameras covering the motorway. While they didn't capture the moment of the crash, there is footage of her journey. This is the first time the Astra is spotted on camera. Seconds later, a passing motorist captures it on dashcam.
Hello, police emergency.
And the calls started to flood in.
Just travelling westbound on the M4 and there's a silvery grey Astra come up the slip road onto oncoming traffic.
Well, so there's a car driving on the wrong carriageway.
I was in the left lane and I swerved to avoid him.
I was going 70 and there was a lot of cars and she absolutely came like a rocket. I didn't see him coming and there was no one in front.
Oh, hello. We've just been driving on the M4 westbound between junction 26 and 27. A car was driving the wrong way down the motorway in the outside lane at speed.
Yeah, we are aware. Have you got the index of the vehicle by any chance?
Oh, no, too fast. Way too fast. Just saw headlights.
This is the last time the car is seen on the traffic cameras. The crash happens 6 seconds later. They now need to find out just why she drove in this way.
From 1783.
Good.
We get an ambulance to the Bainswell Club. We've got a male bleeding from the head. We've got a motorbike on the floor, and there's been a crash into a van.
Collision investigators PC's Rhys Dickinson and Tony Parker have just arrived at this crash scene in Newport city centre. Critical care doctors are treating the 23-year-old motorcyclist who's been seriously injured.
A bit chaotic at the moment. It's Friday night, so you've got lots of members of the public around as well. Obviously the first thing is his health comes first.
Airway.
So that's why we're all just standing back a sec, having a look around the edges of the scene more than anything, trying to stay out of their way.
Keeps in our consciousness. When he is conscious, he's fighting.
Yeah.
To potential head injury.
Yeah.
The bike he was riding has collided with a van, which was turning right at this junction. Police at the scene have been told that the rider failed to stop at traffic lights. And it's filtering through that he is also well known to local officers.
You know the history of this guy, do you? Stopped him 6 times for drug driving.
Ah, right.
So he's normally a car driver.
That's why he's gone on to bikes, because we can't see who he is.
Could be.
We have heard little bits and bobs, but we got to try to put that aside and just deal with what we've got and what we can see. And if that shows one or the other in the wrong, then that's what we'll go with, and we're just going to be dealing with what we find evidentially and factually.
As Rhys and Tony start their examination of this crash scene.
Whoa, it's a good strike.
They found extensive damage where the motorcyclist has struck the windscreen. While he was wearing a helmet, they're concerned to hear what happened to it during the crash.
His helmet's gone off on the way down the road.
Yeah. Have we got that?
Is it still down there?
Questions now need to be asked about why his helmet has come off in the impact.
Sorry, are you taking that?
He's going to pop it on the truck.
Can we just have a quick look at it before it goes? Because the helmet's come off, we need to find out why. Was it a fault with the helmet? Or simply, was it not done up? I can't see any sign of any burring or anything on the edge. So again, ripped out.
Is there no clip?
Yeah, the clip's in there.
Ah, right, okay. So it probably would not.
So it probably wasn't done up.
As the motorcyclist is taken to hospital in a critical condition, Tony and Rhys continue their work.
We got the bike coming down Stowe Hill. It's pretty clear the van was coming up Stowe Hill and looking to turn down towards the Bainesville Club. And during that manoeuvre, the bike has hit the front.
And there's evidence on the road surface which reveals where the bike and van made contact.
Here's about the point of impact, isn't it? It's all the drop.
Yeah. You've got quite a substantial amount of mud on the floor going up to the wheel. Where the impact has occurred, you get the shock and it'll drop all the mud that's underneath the arches.
You can see where all the mud is on this one. So all that coming down from the front wheel arch is what's caused this mud.
But the reason why this impact happened still needs to be established.
I'm just looking at this and I'm thinking, you've got green here. That's red up there, that's red down there.
That's just gone red.
And it's already thought that the motorcyclist failed to stop for a red light.
Green. Both of them just went green.
They've both just gone green, have they?
Yeah.
So neither have contravened a red, because the only contravention of a red will be coming from that junction.
Yeah. Well, we thought earlier potentially one of them running a red light. We know that's not the case now, because it would be green for both directions at the same time.
Suggestions that the motorcyclist was at fault in this way don't appear to stack up. But there's something very distinctive about this scene.
Can you smell that?
Which is giving them other reasons to be suspicious.
Smell that then. Smell it. Oh, yeah, still smelling.
What's that?
It is, isn't it? It's in there, isn't it? Yeah, you're right.
It stinks.
Oh, yeah, that stinks.
Ash. I think it's in there.
Absolutely stinks.
Now we've moved it, it's really strong.
The rider's jacket must now be searched.
The officers have gone through the clothing, just saw little packs of cannabis and obviously a substantial amount of money in 5s and 10s. Could be for personal use, but in bags like that with the amount of cash that he's got, that's unlikely. For that amount, that looks like he's drug running. But that's obviously something we'll have to check out later.
The rider is now suspected of committing serious offences. But Tony and Rhys still need to know why he crashed into the van.
Whilst I'm analysing the scene, other officers have identified that there's actually CCTV on the club on the corner. They couldn't bring a copy out, but they took a video of it on their mobile phones to enable me to be able to see it.
The headlight of the bike becomes visible as it travels down the hill, just as the van appears in the bottom left-hand corner. As suspected, it makes a right-hand turn, and the two vehicles collide. But the CCTV also confirms why the rider's injuries are so serious.
I've never seen a helmet come off to that degree, just to fly off. And it's almost unbelievable how long it then takes to land. And then you see it bouncing down the road. All that force should have been absorbed in the impact, but instead, because it wasn't done up, it's just flying down the road.
As well as confirming the rider's helmet wasn't fastened, something else has caught their attention about the other vehicle involved.
The van moves on quite a bit, mate. Actually, didn't he?
Yeah, substantially.
The CCTV suggests the crash did not happen at the point where the van finally came to a stop. So Reese needs to take a closer look at the damage.
If this vehicle was in the current position, and I was riding the bike down, and impacted into here, my head would carry on that way. Not that way. That's where his head's hit. We refer to it as a bullseye, for obvious reasons, which indicates that it must have been coming in at a relatively head-on angle. What I want to do is put the vehicle back to where I think it was at the point of impact. We'll never be able to say 100% exactly what steering lock he had on, but it's going to be very close.
Okay. Yep.
I brought that back on the same steering lock that it came to rest at. To end up where he did, and for the impact point to be here, there's no other possibility for it. He has to be cut in the corner. It just comes down to the fact that the van driver has just pulled across in front of the motorbike. And it is simple as that.
The van driver said he just did not see the motorcycle coming towards him.
He's just not looking for the bike, or simply is just not paying attention.
The biker recovered from his injuries. He pleaded guilty to a charge of possession of cannabis with intent to supply.
Yes, okay, he is out breaking the law, dealing drugs. He was only using the helmet to maybe hide his identity. But for his part in the collision, he isn't to blame.
As the motorcyclist had right of way, police did give the van driver formal advice about the standard of his driving. The investigation is continuing after a crash on the M4 motorway left a woman dead and a man seriously injured. The 38-year-old woman driving the silver Vauxhall Astra was travelling in the wrong direction when she collided head-on into this black BMW.
Ultimately, we need to show why she drove the wrong way onto the motorway and continued to drive along the motorway.
So Dean's now analysing the footage from traffic cameras covering the motorway.
You can see her appearing in the distance, straight into lane 3. The brake lights are on there, and then she suddenly swerves. It's still keeping pace with the flow of traffic, so no significant speed at that point.
Other drivers could only do their best to avoid her.
This car you see, as it comes up into this area, suddenly brakes and swerves. This driver probably can't believe what's happening. It's coming towards them, can't believe what they're seeing. brakes and swerves and narrowly misses a head-on collision. You can see again with her car, you can see that she swerves as well.
So did she have any opportunities to pull across to the hard shoulder and ultimately avoid this crash?
There's quite a gap there. And you see from this view, I believe that's probably the first realistic opportunity she would have had to get across there.
Despite 3 chances to pull over, she didn't take them and continued to drive.
You can see the lorry driver flashes the headlights on this one as well. As she approaches the lorry, you can see on the sign now, you see the headlights flash. So the lorry driver looks as if he's trying to warn the driver, you're going the wrong way. And that's where the camera stops.
This might be enough footage to start interpreting her behaviour, but he still needs to know what the last few moments could reveal about her actions. And the answers could lie in other cameras.
A number of dashcam recordings were identified from vehicles at the scene.
This is footage from the vehicle following the black 1 Series BMW that was involved in the crash.
You can just see the headlights of the Astra travelling towards it. But what you see interestingly with the BMW driver, you can see it's in the centre of its lane, and immediately before the impact you see the brake lights of the BMW illuminate.
Despite his attempt to brake, the 2 cars collide at a combined impact speed of almost 120 miles per hour. But in those last few moments before the crash, was there any reaction from the driver of the silver Astra? Dashcam footage from a lorry travelling on the opposite carriageway has captured the final section of the Astra's journey.
You can see towards the right-hand side the silver Astra coming into view, before then accelerating gently up to the point of impact. Immediately before the impact you see the brake lights of the Astra coming on. So the lady did try and brake a split second prior to the impact.
And this is significant.
This led me to the conclusion that this didn't appear to be somebody who was intent on hurting themselves or other road users.
So the question remains, just why and how did she drive the wrong way along the motorway? While it wasn't captured on camera, officers now think she joined the carriageway here at junction 28 in Newport. Exactly how she got it so wrong is still unclear, so any witnesses are key to this investigation.
One witness saw the silver Astra turning left from junction 28, from the roundabout at the intersection, onto the slip road.
This is an aerial view of where the driver of the silver Astra was seen making the fateful left-hand turn.
So you think she's come...
Yes.
Sort of there?
Yeah. That's the manoeuvre the witness is describing.
Instead of taking the correct slip road to join the eastbound carriageway, shown here in green, the woman is thought to have taken the route highlighted in red.
What the witness says is that she's in lane 3, which is against the barrier, and there was a vehicle alongside her, and they've had to move apart, so she actually drove between the 2 vehicles before continuing the wrong way along the slip road.
And she's been able to tell them more about the woman at the wheel of the Astra.
The driver appeared calm. She gives a description of the driver, quite a good description. The driver didn't appear to be panicked or alarmed or distressed and carried out this manoeuvre. Now, is it that turning to the left is quite an easy turning? Doesn't look that sharp on there at the moment.
So could the junction layout be to blame?
We needed to visit the intersection at the same time and the same day of the week. So it was obviously dark. It gave us a good indication of what the road conditions and the visibility would have been like at the time that the woman had carried out that manoeuvre. So as we approach the junction now, the obvious route for eastbound is that lane, the dedicated left turn lane onto the motorway.
The woman lived locally and was thought to be familiar with the road layout.
We know from the witness accounts that she turned left onto the junction here. It's well lit. Signage, there's nothing indicating here that you could turn left onto the motorway. She's driven over 3 sets of clearly defined road markings, all facing the wrong direction from the direction she's travelling in, but she continued to drive up there.
Seeing this junction as the driver would have seen it, there's no doubt in Dean's mind.
You have to make a deliberate attempt to turn left along that slip road. So that's not a typical manoeuvre that you would expect to make on a road layout such as this.
He's calculated that she continued for 2.8 miles at an average speed of around 56 miles per hour.
I mean, she's not a new driver, she's an experienced driver. Not something an experienced motorist would do. I don't know what's in the lady's mind.
Investigations have revealed that on the night of the crash, the woman was at a family party in Newport. After an argument broke out, she left without telling anyone, got in her car, and started her journey home. But she'd been drinking at the party.
The alcohol level found in her blood was almost 2.5 times the legal drink drive limit. There was a measurable amount of cocaine in her system as well.
At an inquest into her death, the coroner said it was hard to understand why she did not realise her mistake and pull onto the hard shoulder.
I was under no illusions at all that that level of intoxication was a significant, if not the main contributory factor in this collision.
The BMW driver suffered life-changing injuries, but the impact of this crash has been felt even more widely.
The last thing you expect, particularly driving along the motorway, is something travelling towards you. You see these cars swerving out of the way. There's some serious near misses, and you can only imagine what those drivers are going through. It's horrific.